Come and dream with me.
Hello, welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every week we get together and talk about movies, TV, and online content. Help you answer the question, is Martin Scorsese the most talked about person in film this year? I think so. I'm your host, Ashley Hobley. Joining me today, Dylan Blight.
Let them fight.
Who in particular?
The Russo versus the Scorsese. Godzilla versus Kong, you know?
I mean, that's one fight, you know. Yeah, give us the Scorsese Godzilla movie where Scorsese plays Godzilla or voices Godzilla versus everybody. That's what the people want. You know, he's fighting so many battles on so many fronts and just taking everybody out.
Why not?
Why not? On today's episode, we'll be talking about what's in our watch history, going over some film news, giving some thumbs to trailers, and giving you this week's top 3. I'll kick things off. The Brisbane International Film Festival is currently taking place here in Brisbane, so I've been able to go see a couple of films that won't be coming out anytime soon. Kicking things off with Poor Things, the latest film from Yorgos Lanthimos, based on a screenplay by Tony McNamara, who previously did, obviously, The Favourite and The Greats TV series, starring Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, William Dafoe. So, Emma Stone plays a young woman named Bella, who is actually the body of a 31-year-old woman who committed suicide, but with the brain of a 3-year-old put into her body. Frankenstein-esque. So from the start of the film, she's kind of still infant-esque, learning about the world. She's being kept at home by her creator/father, God, I guess, is what is regularly referred to. Dr. Goodwin Baxter, played by Willem Dafoe, a heavily prosthetic Willem Dafoe, who then enlists the help of a assistant to like kind of track, Bella's progress. Bella starts to learn about the world and her body, starting to have like a sexual awakening, I guess, and soon finds herself running away on an adventure with Mark Ruffalo's Duncan Wedderburn across the country and the world. Fantastic movie. Just very weird is the word that definitely comes to mind first. Very funny. Definitely one you don't want to watch with anyone you would be awkward about seeing a bunch of sex with, because it is very sexually heavy. A lot of fucking. Just straight out saying it. Yeah, it's just really odd and weird. Obviously, Yorgos Lanthimos, he's a little bit eccentric and that kind of stuff. A lot of like fisheye lenses and odd camera moves. Really interesting set designs with like really weird painterly backgrounds and extravagant sets. It's like very Victorian Britain, like time period and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was thoroughly enjoyable. Like, even though there's all these kind of weird shit happening, and like William Dafoe is playing this dude whose father like pretty much committed a bunch of like experiments on him, and he thinks it was all in good moral taste and that kind of stuff. And there's a bunch of like, if you're super sensitive, I don't think this is a movie for you, because obviously they use a bunch of like terms and terminology that's like very crude and that kind of stuff at certain times, like something. Their characters. Emma Stone is like incredibly brave throughout this entire performance, obviously playing like a 3-year-old at the start of the film, with like, crying about, dropping a plate or like not wanting to eat certain foods, so she's like spitting it out everywhere and that kind of stuff. Through her progression, through her life story, kind of. Yeah, just a really fantastic performance there. Mark Ruffalo, hilarious, as the guy who kind of falls for her, even though he's like a node womanizer and that kind of stuff, and his inability to handle her not wanting to be with him 24/7 and that kind of stuff. It's very, very funny. The amount of tantrums and shit he pulls off in this movie, very hilarious. But yeah, it's constantly being brought up as potential Best Picture winner. In my mind, it is like too weird. Like, I know we've had some weird winners.
Shape of Water is the argument for if a girl can fuck a fish and win an Oscar, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I know, but that wasn't up against. I feel like usually with the Oscars, it's like a weird movie and then like a pretty conventional movie. So last year we had the weird movie and Everything Everywhere All at Once. So this year I feel like they lean more into a conventional Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, like old school, plain, not gonna be weird. I think it's a fantastic movie. I highly recommend checking it out. It's releasing here in Australia on the Boxing Day, I want to say off the top of my head. But yeah, it is weird and out there and definitely going to offend some people. Which is what you want to hear about a movie, isn't it? So, looking forward to hearing your thoughts on that when you eventually get to watch it at the end of the year. I also went to see Anatomy of a Fall. So this is the Palme d'Or winner from this year, following a female writer whose husband takes a fall out of their
or does he?
Or does he? Takes a fall out of the well, technically he does fall.
Okay.
There's no doubt that he definitely fell.
Okay, but was he pushed?
Yeah, was it suicide or was he pushed? Is the question. So this is a film by Justin Triet, starring Sandra Hüller, who plays a German speaking English in France. It's like very multiple layers of confusing. But obviously her husband takes a fall out of their chateau, and dies, only to be discovered by their visually impaired son. So then it just follows like the police investigation and like the eventual court case in which they kind of like debate whether she killed him or it was a suicide, pretty much. Very fascinating, very strong performances. It's definitely, as well as being kind of like a mystery, I guess that's not really the main thrust of the film. It's kind of the examination of the relationship between Sandra and her husband Samuel's like marriage and that kind of stuff, and whether they can get the jury or the courtroom to believe she committed the murder. It isn't exactly clear if there's a jury or if it's just a bunch of judges. I don't know how the French court system works, and it is very different to like any other courtroom. It just seems like they can start questioning people anytime they want.
Objection.
Yeah, kind of. No, there's no objections, but the prosecutor is a dick. Or at least if you're coming from the angle that you think Sandra is innocent, he comes off as a dick. And yeah, it just seems like he can start questioning her, who's standing like in the prosecution, like whenever he wants, about anything. But yeah, really fantastic movie, really well shot, beautiful performances by a lot of performers. Very obviously multilingual. Like at certain points, they need to speak in French, and obviously they speak a fair amount of English. If that's a turn off for you, I guess. But yeah, it's a really fantastic drama, the really cool courtroom film, and definitely this exploration of marriage and what you owe to each other, and that kind of stuff. Or I will say, trigger warning. There's like a moment of like weirdly animal cruelty that's kind of like just glossed over. That's kind of weird. That will make more sense when you actually watch the movie. But yeah, Anatomy of a Fall. Go check it out. I think this is releasing in Australia on the 25th of January next year. So
Looking forward to watching it in 3 months, 4 months,
that's
5
if it
months,
releases in Tassie.
6 months, 7 months.
Maybe like obviously this was also getting like an Oscar push, so I don't know, but it didn't get the French. It didn't get the international slot, is what I remember was the story around this film. So it won't be up for international best feature. But yeah, hopefully they show it around you. I don't know. Yeah. So I've got a couple other big films I'll be seeing this week. So looking forward to talking
What
about
else you
them.
watching?
I'm going to see Shortcomings, the Randall Park directed film, and then I'm seeing Saltburn this week, which I've seen has gotten very positive reviews from others who saw it this week.
Man, Buddy went opposite to you. Buddy's like first movie was Saltburn, I think.
Yeah. So
You reverse.
All right. Dylan, you've got a review up at explosion.com for Hell House LLC Origins, the Carmichael Manor.
Yeah, so Hell House LLC. I watched the first one. I haven't watched any of the sequels apart from this one. The first one is this like found footage horror film. It was really good. I really enjoyed it, but I just never had enough urge to actually. I just assumed the sequels would be shit because I'm like, that's a good idea, but no way it works for sequels. But like the first one's like these people like basically rent out like this horror house. I get it, like like horror houses with like creepy stuff that people walk through and whatever. Like a bunch of people die in it and something like that, and then a documentary crew or like a bunch of people trying to make a documentary basically go back through that house to try and like figure out what happened and investigate it and stuff, and then creepy stuff starts happening in there. It was really cool. I liked it. Never watched the sequels. I kind of want to go back and watch them now because so jumping to this one, this is the 4th film, but it's a prequel, whereas other ones, from my understanding, were actually set after the first film. This one is in a completely different building, so this is no longer people dealing with that case. Now this is in a manor, but it does tie it into the overall arching lore, I guess, by like connecting characters and stuff, and like it basically all comes down to some weird fucking cult is like all weird things. But this movie, fucking clowns, man. I like fucking creepy clowns really get you. Like you guys are the thing. I'm like, I put it in my review. I'm like, found footage horror movies are like they're either like really shit and not scary or actually good, and then like clowns are either laughably not scary in movies if they're done bad, but this movie just fucking clowns, like fucking creepy clowns. This is what that movie is. It's these group of three. So it's a couple, and one of the girls brothers, they come along and they're at this manor where this family like was mysteriously like murdered and shit like in the 80s, and they decide to stay there for 4 nighs. They're trying to make a documentary about what happened here and like see if any spooky things happening. They've heard it's haunted, like let's stay in the house for several nights because it's haunted, that sort of setup. And then as the nights progress, it's more and more of like weird stuff, like a bowl rolls down the floor, typical sort of stuff. I think one of the creepiest scenes in the movie is as I write and reviews this, one of the girls is trying to like talk to her boss or something on like a Zoom call, and then her job is like fixing up houses or whatever, like that sort of thing. And she tries to open up. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'll just share my computer and I'll show you the files here." And she like double clicks on a file on a desktop there, and then the video starts playing. She's like, "Wait, this is my video," and it's a fucking person like walking up the stairs in the house she's in until like comes up behind her, and there's a fucking ghost girl next to her. It's a fucking weird. And then by the end of the movie, you just got like fucking freaky ass clowns doing shit, and then everyone dies, and it's great. So yeah, I think I gave it like an 8. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah,
on Shudder.
It's on Shudder. Check it out. So you watched the slasher film / time traveler movie, Totally Killer.
Yeah, this is really good. So if you're looking for something to watch, even though Halloween's over now, if you're a day late, dollar short, and you're like, it's November, but I still would like to watch a fun, like this is a horror movie Ash can watch. This is the category this falls into. This is a comedy horror that's like it falls into the
Yes.
category of Ash can watch this, Ash can enjoy it. So if Ash can watch and enjoy it, it means you, dear listeners, can also probably enjoy it. is the rule. So you got what's her name? Kiernan Shipka, aka Sabrina. She plays this character in the like 2000s or whatever, and her and then like the serial killer comes back who was a serial killer around from like her mum's days. And then she gets attacked by this person who's called the Sweet 16 Killer. And the funniest part of this movie is just like they sort of throw it out. Like she's got like a super smart friend who, for a science project in college or whatever they're in America, she's trying to invent a time machine and she can't get the time machine to work. So then, like, when the killer attacks, they're at like this place where she's trying to build this time machine. And then she runs into it with the killer attacking her. And then the killer stabs the time machine, which apparently actually makes the time machine work. And it's, then sends her back 35 years. So now she's back in the 1980s where her mum's a teenager, and she knows all the girls. She recognizes them, like, you are the three girls that are going to get killed by the Sweet 16 Killer, and the Sweet 16 Killer never gets caught. So it's now this, it's sort of Back to the Future, because you've got the child interacting with the parent, but also like not wanting to tell her, obviously, that I'm your daughter, which is why you have that funny part in the trailer that's in the movie as well, where she's like, "Mom, Mamita," like, it's like tries to say, like, cover it up. She's very, very good, and she's very funny in this movie, I thought. Conan Shipka, she's very good. Yeah, and then you just got this whole thing, like she tries to like change it, but then of course, because she's trying to, the movie does a good thing with the typical time travel thing where, you know, they make fun of it. They're like, time travel movies don't make sense. You literally have the part where they go like she goes and tries to tell the sheriff, one of which is played by Randall Park, about like this murders that's going to happen. And she's like, don't you like watch time travel movies? And Randall Park character is like, I don't really like time travel movies. They never make any sense, you know, that sort of stuff. So it's quite funny. And then as she tries to change stuff so these girls will no longer get killed, then like the way in which the killer reacts changes because she's sort of changing history and stuff like that. And then you do they flash back, well, not flash, they flash aside, I guess, to what's happening in the current day, because this movie does the thing where it's like, it does the whole, even though she's traveled back in time occurs concurrently. So the people in her current timeline are still trying to find a way to fix the time machine so they can get her back. Her best friend and some other family members and stuff like that are trying to find a way to get her back as well. And they're like being able to view like photographs from the 80s that are like changing as she's like interacting with the world at the time. Yeah, I would really recommend it. I think it's a super fun, quite funny at times slasher that's really enjoyable.
Awesome. So that's available on Prime Video. Also on Prime Video is the new Wiggles documentary, Hot Potato. The story of the Wiggles. And you know, it just, you know, it's as advertised. It's the story of the Wiggles, from the early days as a bunch of uni students studying teaching, who, you know, like, become friends and start a band of children's performers, through to their mega success several years later. Really interesting, obviously, like delving into the early years of the Wiggles, and like this isn't a story I've like ever gone to the effort of like exploring about how they kind of got big. Like it was very much a ground up, like, you know, start from the bottom, and now they hear a story of like they would like perform at like children's parties and that kind of stuff, and eventually they kind of just they started making their own cassette tapes and VHS tapes and that kind of stuff. Yeah, just a really interesting look. Obviously through to, you know, it's also like weird. It's weirdly cut together like a music documentary, which, you know, makes sense. But like it would cut to them performing songs, like you would like cut to a band like performing their songs, I guess. You know, even though the Wiggles are a band, I get it. It's but they're, you know, a children's band. You wouldn't expect them to be put together like this. But also it's cut from footage of the original band members performing like one of their adult shows as well, so it's not like a bunch of kids like watching them as well.
I mean, the documentary from I haven't watched it, but I do want to watch it. From my understanding, the way they've talked about it, it's like this is a Wiggles documentary for people who grew up watching the Wiggles who are now adults.
Yes, there's definitely
yeah.
what it feels like. Definitely kind of delving into it, kind of following their like developments. Like they talk about why they introduced Dorothy. One of the more interesting things about the film, and I wish they kind of delved into a little bit more, but it might just be because they've got such a massive catalog, is like they kind of explains like how some of their different songs came together and like why they work with kids and why kids enjoy them, and that kind of stuff. And they kind of like get into a little bit of the thought process and the teaching elements of a lot of the songs and that kind of stuff. But yeah, really fun, nostalgic film. There are other elements that I wish they kind of delved into a little bit more. Like obviously they go into Anthony's like depression and how he came out about that. They go into Greg's Greg Page, the Yellow Wiggles, health issues and how he was the first one to retire and the role was taken over by Sam. Like I don't know if you remember this, but then after 5 years, Greg came back and Sam got.
And they kicked him out.
Yeah, but you know that's the elements of the story
and
that
then he
I kind
retired
of
again.
That's the part of the story that I feel like they kind of like, oh, his contract came up, so he was always going to leave at that point. It's just coincidence that Greg came back at that point as well. And then they have Sam in the interview, and he's like, doesn't really want to touch on it too much. Like, he just, I just wish that kind of had been explained a little bit more. Then they like go into the next iteration of the band with Emma and Lockie and Simon and that kind of stuff, and everybody kind of retiring, and through to the current iteration where there's 8 different Wiggles at the moment.
One core member remains.
Yeah, only one core member remains. I thought it was really good documentary. Again, kind of delving into like obviously focused on the original 4, but definitely having all the other voices like they're talking about stuff. It's like it's kind of odd some of the stuff that they decide to focus on. Like they have like a big section about the like a version performance, them winning the hottest 100. And you can definitely tell this documentary is not necessarily. It's not an Australian documentary. It's like we're trying to explain what the Triple J hottest 100 is, what like a version is. Like obviously for American audiences and that kind of stuff. So definitely worth checking out. A really fantastically put together documentary with a fantastic Australian success story. So all right, Dylan, you've watched the first couple of episodes of the new season of Invincible.
Yes, I've watched the first 2 episodes of Invincible season 2 part 1 because everyone loves to do parts now apparently. Very good so far. It's hard to like talk about the first 2 without spoilers and stuff because obviously the first season sort of ends on this massive moment with the big fight between Mark and his father, whatever his name is, I can't remember. Omni-Man, there we go. So they have this big brawl out, and obviously there's a lot of people die. I mean, obviously but how could you forget? That's the fucking craziness that is the finale of Invincible. This season starts with the fallout of that, and at least from my gathering, it seems like maybe this whole first arc is just going to focus on Mark dealing with that because he's depressed. Like, let's just put it down there. Like he's not doing too well. His dad turned out to be a villain. He blames himself for the death of like all these civilians and stuff like that because he was unable to stop his dad, and he's just dealing with like a lot of emotional trauma between that sort of stuff while also trying to still get back into the superhero business. What's his face? Cecil doesn't at first in the first episode doesn't really want anything to do with him because there's a little bit of trepidation around like having him come back to work after everything. Then you've got some other superheroes that aren't like super like a bit more judgmental about him because they're like, maybe you're like your father. Like it just seems to be like all this fallout from the the events of the first season. You've even got his mother now. She's dealing with, of course, the fact that she's like, my fucking husband, who I thought loved me, was a piece of shit who called me an animal, basically. Like, you know, like all this sort of fallout from stuff. And then even amongst all that, Mark's still trying to, like, you know, apply and get into the right colleges or whatever with his girlfriend and, you know, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, 2 episodes in. Got a couple more to watch. It's out this week anyway. Yeah, very, very, very much enjoying it. But I mean, based off the first couple episodes, I'd say this, which is that the first season started like pretty like low-hearted and stuff, but yeah, this season just coming off the way the first season ends, it's just like it's not as like funny, happy-go-lucky, at least coming into it as it was. It's like, not to say it's a bad thing, it's just like, how do you go off that story beat into having the same tone, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, looking forward to checking that out later this week. Dylan, you watched Last Stop Larrimah. Larrimah. Okay, Murder Down Under.
This was really good. I don't know where it came from. Apparently, it was a HBO documentary, and I don't recall ever seeing it announced or anything.
Duplass brothers?
Yeah, the Duplass brothers like produced it or whatever. I never actually seen it. Somehow this had I missed it somehow. But anyway, I see it like scrolling through the, I was like, what the fuck is this? Quickly read the synopsis, and I was like, oh, Australian outback, middle of fucking nowhere. I'm like, sure, let's watch this. And I just stick it on. It was really, really good. So it's like this town in middle of butt fuck nowhere, Australia. There's like 11 people that live in this town. And they set up the first start of I think it's 2 episodes they broke it down to, or was it a full movie? I can't remember. Fuck, I don't know. But the first like act is more or less putting together, hey, it's 11 people, everyone here loves each other, everything's great. And then someone eventually disappeared or probably died. This person went missing, and then it's boiling down, going backwards from that. There's a lot of old footage from they had a lot of footage because a documentary team had gone in there, or like a 7 News team or something like that had gone in there years prior just to be like, hey, like, let's talk about this small butt fuck town and like what goes on in here, and like let's interview a bunch of the people, which is why they have footage from the dude who goes missing. But then there's a lot of new footage being interviewing the people that live there and what they think happened in the years after. And then it does have, I was worried it wasn't gonna have a payoff, because a lot of the documentary seems to just being like, okay, we're gonna end this with, and I'll be like, yeah, that was like interesting, but you know, they never actually figured out what happened. But yeah, if you watch it and you get to that same stage as me, just hang on, because they get a zinger there towards the end that definitely helps put a cap on the end of it. So, but yeah, it was really well put together. A lot of wild characters. That's what makes this work. A lot of very outrageous, high personalities for this small town. And it's Australian, just weird shit that's going on here. So really enjoyed it, would recommend.
Awesome. And then you've also started watching Happy Valley.
Yeah, so I've watched the first season. I watched the first episode, I think, the other day. So I never heard of this show until this year, right? And then at the start of the year, I remember seeing Happy Valley season 3 started, and it was like all over the charts, Just Watch charts, like people listen to Happy Valley show. I'm like, what the fuck is this show? And I remember looking up the 3rd season, seeing it, getting rave reviews and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll like add that to my list and go back and start it eventually. The 3rd season's on binge. I'll get this out of the way because it's annoying straight away. 3rd season's on binge. First 2 seasons on BritBox. So there's you have to go to 2 streaming services if you want to be able to watch the full thing. But anyway, first season was 2014. Second season, a couple years later, they brought that out in like 2016. And 3rd season only came out this year. So there's a huge gap of time between second and third, and even a couple years between the first and second. But it's all set in this same town. It all focuses on the same character. And although it may look like a normal sort of police procedural, it's very focused on a bunch of characters and stuff that affects them and their life. So the first season, the setup is you've got Catherine, who's a sergeant, and then she's looking after her grandson, but straight away shit gets kind of dark because you learn very quickly that there's a dude who was in prison for 8 years who's getting out in the first episode, and he raped her daughter and she had a child, which is her grandson. However, after that, she killed herself, so you never meet her. So she killed herself before the series starts because of, and the sergeant, the cop, she blames this dude, because he raped her. He doesn't actually know he has a kid either. So you already like got all these like, oh shit, I can see how this is going to sort of come together. Then the thing that I really like what this show does is on the other side you have a dude who is asked for a raise from his boss, doesn't get it. So, and he's a dweeb. This dude's a fucking like he wouldn't kill a fly, fucking pussy motherfucker. This dude, right? And he goes out and he figures out that there's a dude. He finds out who like the local drug runner is in this town. And he says, oh, I want to get some money. Like, let's split it. I've got an idea. This dude's like really rich. Let's kidnap this dude, my boss's daughter, and we'll hold for ransom. So you're seeing all this. So there's no mystery in the show of like who's doing what. You know what's happening because it keeps cutting between the good guys or the quote unquote good guys and quote unquote bad guys, right? But one of the dudes that the local drug lord Pinkin dude hires to help him do this is this dude who just got out of prison who raped the cop's daughter. So you've now got all these intermingling like separate cases, but as the viewer, like there's a lot once people start realizing who's who here, this shit's going to start like intermingling a lot more. So that's like the setup of the first episode, I guess. It was really fucking good. The performances are fantastic. It's really like, so every now and then I feel like, and I'm annoyed I missed it. It's like sitting in the IMDb top 250 TV shows as well. So it's like, it's definitely well loved, but I'd never heard of this until this year. So it completely floated under my my eyes and stuff. But yeah, the especially the main performance of Sarah Lancaster. She's really, really good as the main cop lead character and stuff. And then James Norton, who plays the piece of shit rapist and stuff, he's a really good piece of shit is how I'll put it. Like, you gotta, I hate him, but like he's definitely gets the role right. Then jumping into the second season, which I did watch the first episode of, I was like, okay, what is the second season going to be about? Is it like more like, is it just another case? And like, without spoiling the first season and how it ends, in case anyone listening to this decides to watch it, even though it's like coming out from 2014, but the second season, no, it starts another case. However, the same case still continues to connect to a lot of the lead players from the first season. So it's a continuing on of like how the people's decisions affect people. And you've even got the girl. I know that's kind of a spoiler, but even the girl who's kidnapped in the first season, she becomes a regular cast member for season 2 and stuff, and like how her life, what she decides to do with her life, all this stuff. Yeah, so I'm really, really keen to keep watching it, and as it continues. So good shit.
Awesome. All right, let's move into the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. And I was able to go see an early screening or a cinema screening of the upcoming Netflix film, The Killer, the latest film from David Fincher, starring Michael Fassbender as an assassin. Pretty much, it is a very basic story. Like, the plot of this movie could be explained very, very simply. I won't, because I think that takes away from a little bit. But it is a very simple story. But the details of the film is in the mythology, the psychology of Michael Fassbender's killer, who his work, how he does his work. Like, the film opens with him on a job. He is set up across the road from his targets, waiting for the target to get back to their place of residence. And he's like, he's got gloves on like the entire time. He's wearing like ankle socks the entire time, so he's not going to leave any fingerprints or footprints. He goes about his thing. He's like constantly checking his watch to check what his heart rate is, because he needs to keep his heart rate at a certain level to like pull off the shot correctly. He'll drink from a like specific cup that he brought to this location by himself, so he doesn't leave any DNA tracks. He like sprays everything down and that kind of stuff. It's like a lot of like mythology and thought process behind each action, but it's very much a showcase of how an actual assassin would like
Here's how you
function
actually
is
should
here.
kill people, kid.
This is how you should get. This is how you could kill people and get away with it, kind of. So in that regard, is kind of messed up and that kind of stuff. But yeah, like it is a very interesting look. Like, Michael Fassbender doesn't have much actual dialogue in the film. He does have like a lot of narration. He has an ongoing narration through the entire film, like kind of explaining his thought process and like beliefs and that kind of stuff. But he is like super charming despite his lack of talking. He's a very quiet dude. I think in the actual movie he has like maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 lines maybe. But yeah, just a really fantastic film. Obviously it's Fincher, it's like shot fantastically. Tilda Swinton shows up and has like a really fantastic sequence where she makes a really hilarious joke that you would not expect to be coming out of Tilda Swinton's mouth. Yeah, it's just a really well put together movie. I don't know if it's like any of Fincher's best work because it is such a simple plot, but it's really engaging and it's going to be up everybody's alley. I think it's going to be very watchable for a lot of people. Like people are going to dig it because it's got a very interesting style. Michael Fassbender is really great. A lot of interesting soundtrack, a lot of interesting like lo-fi music in the film, like that he kind of listens to like prepare and that kind of stuff, folksy kind of stuff. My one criticism, it's got like the weirdest opening credits that I've ever seen in a movie. It's like the most incredibly jarring thing. Like the film was playing, it has the Netflix logo to start off, and then just bam, straight into opening credits, and it's like over in like a minute something. It's like, damn, he didn't put much. It's just so odd in a world in which we're kind of so used to like the slow progression into the movie of multiple studio logos and that kind of stuff. And you'll probably most of the time nowadays you'll have like some sort of like cold open before like an opening credit sequence, but straight into it. Very weird. I mean, in the end, a bunch of people are going to just skip over it, but yeah, it was like very jarring in the moment. It was definitely something I remembered by the time the film had ended.
I kind of hope it was like Fincher purposely being like, you're not skipping my fucking credits when this is streaming on Netflix. Like
it's like show it to you straight away, so you won't have time.
I mean, Fincher loves a good credit sequence. Like he's well known for credits.
I mean, it wasn't great. It was just fast and there.
I mean, I don't know if you care enough to answer this question, but like, did you notice the score at all? Because Fincher with Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross has become like a.
I think this is the least obvious score by them.
Okay.
Like I've seen, like it wasn't like a selling point of the movie.
I mean,
by any means,
it doesn't have to be because like they did Social Network too, but Social Network like is considered like really
but that is like yeah. It definitely was not the most a memorable part of the movie. I'll say that, in my opinion. Yeah. I've seen other people who really dug the score and that kind of stuff, but it's like I don't really remember any piece of music in the movie, which is odd. But like, could just be I was so focused on what was happening on the screen, like visually. But yeah, really fantastic. I think it is. What date is it? It's coming to Netflix on the 10th of November, so only like a couple of weeks away. But yeah, if you can see it in cinemas, go see it in cinemas. All right, that's everything in our watch history. Let's move into a little bit of film news. And the big film news again revolves around Killers of the Flower Moon this week. With Killers of the Flower Moon intermission violations. Apple Paramount crackdown on a handful of theaters, breaking agreement. Martin Scorsese did not include an intermission in the 206-minute epic Killers of the Flower Moon, but that hasn't stopped a handful of movie theaters around the world from inserting one themselves, with intervals ranging from 6 minutes and 15 minutes. As of Friday morning, 2 European theatre chains and 1 independent theatre in Amsterdam sold tickets of screenings to Killers of the Flower Moon with a built-in break. A spokesperson for UCI Cinemas confirmed that all of its nearly 80 theaters, with the exception of IMAX screens in Porta di Roma, Oria, and Campi di Zinio, had included a 6-minute interval towards the middle of the film. The View, a UK-based theatre chain, and Amsterdam cinema called The Movies Halberditch, also were offering breaks according to the websites. Domestically, a theatre in Fort Collins showed the historical drama with intermission until October 26th. However, they did away with the intermission after getting in trouble with Paramount, the film's distributor, and Apple Original Films, the producer. The companies have been contacting theaters that have violated their contract by splitting up the film and telling them to show Killers of the Flower Moon as intended, according to an individual with knowledge of the situation. To be clear, only a smattering of venues out of the roughly 10,000 globally that are screening Killers of the Flower Moon have included intermission, but it hasn't gone unnoticed. Thelma Schoonmaker, the editor of the film and longtime collaborator with Scorsese, told The Standard, "I understand that somebody's running it with an intermission which is not right. That's a violation, so I have to find out about it." Yeah, Dylan, what are your thoughts on them cracking down on intermissions?
Yeah, good. People, I don't understand. Like, I'm very confused. Like as to like this. There's this whole like Marvel fan base versus Martin Scorsese on social media thing that's happening. It's very fucking odd. Makes me sad.
But they should all be knighted about long movies.
Yeah, well, that's the other part that confused me. I'm like, my dude's made a 3.5 hour movie. The fucking there was a 3 hour Marvel movie, or 2 hours 59, whatever the fuck it was. Anyway, close enough. And where was all this crying about it then? Like, at what point does half an hour really make a difference? People have been saying things like, "Let people pee, go piss. No one is stopping you from peeing." To clarify, no one is stopping you from getting up and taking a fucking piss in the middle of the movie theater, right? Well, not in the middle of the movie theater, but in the middle of the movie. Go pee. I think it's I continue to sound like an old man on this podcast when it comes to cinema stuff, and I was continuing. Adding intermissions to movies that weren't designed to have intermissions is cutting up and basically destroying the art in the way it wasn't meant to be done. So you don't do that.
Yeah,
and the only reason, and people acting like the cinema chains are the good guys and be like, "Oh, they're looking after your pee." They don't give a fuck about you taking a piss break. They want you to go out there and spend money on popcorn. So let's not act like they're the good guys.
No, like the cinema is the last place where you can like watch a film as intended by the artist. So many people who are like, "Oh, I want to see the movie, but I want to take a break in the middle." It's like, you don't really care about seeing the film not seeing the film as a film. You're seeing it as a piece of content to be consumed.
Yeah.
Because that the length of it is an intended element of the film, I'm assuming.
The length isn't an intended element. Like, he didn't sit down and go, "I'm going to make a 3.5 hour movie." It's just 3.5 hours because that's the length it turned out to be with the story he wanted to tell, right? So,
which is his intention, like,
yeah. But I mean, like, he didn't send out to. No one sat down and said, "I'm going to make a movie so long that people piss their pants."
Yeah.
Yeah,
and again, like, I've seen a lot of people being like, "Oh, it's ableist." Like, there are people with small bladders, like,
go pee.
But also, it's 3 hours 36 minutes. Like, it's good, but if you can't watch the entire thing in that time, don't go see it in the cinemas.
I took a piss in Killers of the Flower Moon. You know what I did? You get a thing. You get good at this in movies. Wait.
Did you?
Yes.
You said last week you didn't.
No, I did. I realized I did afterwards. I remember when it was.
Oh my god.
So I was a liar. Yeah.
Liar.
Yeah, I remembered. I did. So I did. And here's I remembered. It was like there was a big part, right? Massive moment. And then you go quick, right? And then once you got this down, it takes like 30 seconds, right? If you're a male. All right. Yeah. Anyway, if you go quick go, I mean, if you have to sit down, whatever, just quickly, like what you wear. Just think about what you wear to the cinema. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're going to
don't wear a jumpsuit.
This isn't. You're going to go see this movie. It shouldn't be a surprise. The length of it, you know. So prepare. Don't drink a bunch of liquid before you go.
Yeah,
see
but
the movie.
I'm also I accept I have a smaller bladder, I believe, than the normal person. Like I know that like a 3.5 movie, I'm like I'll probably have to pee.
Yeah.
Is what it is. I can
If
either
you're
choose
comfortable
not
with
to.
that,
I can
you
either
know?
choose not to have my drink here, or I just take a quick pee.
You know, if you know it's going to be a long movie, don't fill up on a bunch of liquid beforehand. It's, you know, the average body takes like 3 hours to process all the liquid that you drink.
I just don't get it though, because I'm like, if you miss 30 seconds of a movie, like you just like it doesn't. You sit down, you quickly figure out what you've missed. Like you're not gonna be that lost. It's fine.
Or, you know, just don't go see it in the cinemas, I guess. You know, if you don't want to watch it the way as it was intended. You know? I would never be able to run a marathon. So I would not enter a marathon. You know? Am I wrong?
Am I wrong?
I think the comparison is fair. But also I feel like, as someone pointed out, they also need to crack out on this because they just need to stop any theatre chains altering films in general if they've agreed to screen it the way they've been screened. Like, you had the theatre chains, I want to say, when Lightyear came out, and some theatre chains were like, we're going to fast forward through this same-sex kiss. You know? You got to crack down on that shit as well. So you need to be
there's also
fair
chains
across the
like
board.
fucking around with the aspect ratio on Wes Anderson movies.
Yeah. You need to crack down on all that shit. Because it's not right. But they should also be cracking down on, like, making sure it's presented properly with the correct lighting and the sound and all of that stuff as well. But
I think they need to crack down on people recording in cinemas, because I on TikTok this morning, I'm pretty sure I've seen every scene from that Five Nights at Freddy's movie online already. So I don't know what the fuck's going on there.
But, you know, what can you do about people with phones? You know, other than, well, I mean, there's just too many Gen Zs, you know, there filming TikToks. You know, you can't kick everybody out. You know, you're just outnumbered at that point.
It's so weird. Like, it's just this, like, I've said before, I see it at Marvel movies a lot. Like, every time, like, a big character moment or, like, death or, like, a villain is about to appear, like, all these, like, Gen Zers, like, whip out their phones. And I like, just to post the moment, but I'm like, none of you are going to be the first. Like, I don't know. Like, he's just sending it to each other. Like, you're all sitting here watching the movie. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah. You're not going to win the chase for clout, you know?
Yeah. It's fucking weird.
It's weird. But yeah, just prepare yourself, you know? Wear clothes that you can quickly prepare to go to the bathroom.
Dax, you can quickly
if you
whip
know,
down.
Obviously Run P is like a very well-known app that'll let you know when you can take bathroom breaks in films. But yeah, just know your body, you know? Research, like, how long it's going to take this liquid to get through, you know? I'm sure there's some kind of training you could do to, like, sustain.
Or just go pee and not make a big deal out about it. Like, I don't understand.
Stop complaining about it on the internet, you know?
Yeah.
Stop forcing your bladder on other people's art, is what I'm hearing. You know? God. Alright, so there was an interesting study that came out this week. Apparently, if Gen Z has its wish, gone will be the days of gyrating teens on screen seeking drugs, sex, and recklessness, a la Euphoria.
What?
The new UCLA Teens and Screen study, conducted by the Center for Scholars and Storytellers, found that across 1,500 members of Gen Z ages 10 to 24, young people want more relatable stories that emphasize platonic relationships instead of sexual content. To note, only respondents aged 13 to 24 were asked about intimate content. Adolescents opted to see lives like their own on screen, which included less romance. 48% of adolescents feel that sex and sexual content is not needed for the plot of most TV shows and movies, with 51.5% wanting to see more content focused on friendships and platonic relationships. Dr. Yalda T. Uls, founder and director of the CSS, said, while it's true that adolescents want less sex on TV and in movies, what the study is really saying is they want more and different kinds of relationships reflected in the media they watch. We know that young people are suffering an epidemic of loneliness, and they're seeking modeling in their art they consume. While some storytellers use sex and romance as a shortcut to character connection, it's important for Hollywood to recognize that adolescents want stories that reflect the full spectrum of relationships. Dylan, what do you think of that information?
Man, teenagers are changing.
Mm.
But teenagers just want more sex on TV, you know?
Yeah. Was this a survey anonymous as well? Yeah.
It's actually a bunch of like 40 and 50-year-olds.
No, it was like they're all in the room. They're like, "Oh, do you guys want more sex in your?"
Yeah. Oh no, I'd hate that, said little Timmy. I mean, I get it. The part, I guess, about like more like I get like the second half of that of more relationships between like especially girl guy, or you know, like that sort of like stereotypical stuff, like more portrayals of just friendships instead of romance on in movies and TV. I get that part. Taking out, I think I only read the headline. This story, it popped up and had a picture of Euphoria, so I was like, I don't know, the complaint that Euphoria has too much sex in it. I'm like, I like the show's just not for you. Like the show, the sex is the sex and whatever.
I mean,
else.
I think they just used Euphoria as an example because it's a massive show and obviously,
but it's also not. It's not really made for that. Like they're saying like 13 to whatever. The show's like
no, absolutely
R.
like.
Yeah, so it's this whole weird thing again. Where it's like, okay, should the 18 plus show being showed to 13-year-olds? No. So what the fuck is their opinion
13
on
to
this
24, to be fair.
Yeah, I know, but there's only like age gap there. Yeah, I get half of it, but also I'm just like, I don't know. Like I know that 13-year-olds probably don't actually watch TV. They just watch TikTok anyway. Even 24-year-olds probably don't even watch TV. You know. So what's their opinion matter to me? Nothing.
Wow. I mean, yeah, it's an interesting survey, especially when what I see a lot on social media is so much shipping culture around shows and wanting characters to get together and that kind of stuff. Like, it seems juxtaposed with this idea that all these teens just want platonic relationships and no romance. And
fucking Gen Z, man. They just want everything and nothing at the same time.
They don't know what they want. That's what I'm hearing. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting study. And then the other interesting piece of information here at the bottom, familiarity is also found in the comfort of binge watching, with twice as many surveyed adolescents opting for full season drops instead of weekly episodes released. So for every one, there was 2 that wanted full season drops instead of weekly content.
No patience. That's what I mean. No, I want everything. They want everything at the same time. I want it all now, and then they're watching it a day, and then where's the next thing? You know, so needy, so wanty. Just
young people.
No patience anymore.
All right. Dylan, every week there's so many new projects announced that we just can't cover it all.
Is there?
So we like there was, and there's starting to be again. In the segment we like to call "Would You Want to Invest?" In this segment, I let Dylan know about a bunch of different projects, and he tells me if you would like to fully invest, partially invest, or not invest in these projects, and then history will be the judge of whether he is right or wrong. So yeah, finally can do the segment again with the writer strike over. There's a bunch of scripts again.
They just can't make them yet.
I mean, some of them they can make. Some of these are like SAG-AFTRA got interim agreements and that kind of stuff. But you know, they're definitely an element of getting their ducks in a row for some of these. So yeah, let's jump in. Writer-director Courtney J. Camarota has wrapped production on her first feature, Dead Guy, a dark comedy shot under an interim agreement that will be introduced to buyers at AFM by CAA Media Finance. Among those in the starry cast are 2-time Oscar nominee Michael Shannon, Golden Globe winner Eva Longoria, Judy Greer, Louis Guzman, Amri Nolosky, Rory Culkin, Curtis Armstrong, and Ashley Reyes. Dead Guy's plot is set into motion when an abrasive old man suddenly dies in the apartment of a neighbor. An absurd game of hot potato then begins with the not so dearly departed as neighbors and building workers each pass the body along in the hopes of not being linked to the old man's demise.
Crazy how they turned that Wiggle song into a movie. Yeah, fully invest. Sounds funny to me.
All right. Next up, William H. Macy, John Corbett, Joel Courtney, Devon Franklin, and Stephanie Sostak are among those set to star in On Fire, another new film from Sean McNamara that has landed a SAG after interim agreement and will begin production in St. Louis November 6th. Believed to be the first feature to take advantage of Missouri's new production tax credit, On Fire was adapted for the screen by Gregory Poirier. The film picks up with a 9-year-old O'Leary as he's been given virtually no chance of survival after being burned in a harrowing accident over 100% of his body. In his fight to live and show us what's possible, he winds up leaning on his family, faith, and the entire city of St. Louis, including the legendary St. Louis Cardinals announcer Jack Buck.
Partial invest? Sounds mildly interesting. But also, sounds like it could go for 3 hours, man. I don't know if people watch that.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right. A new adults animation limited series from Community and Rick and Morty writer Dan Guterman is coming to Netflix. Carol and the End of the World is set to debut on Netflix with 10 episodes on December 15th. Martha Kelly will star as the titular character Carol. Carol and the End of the World is a love letter to routine, a show about the comforts of monotony, an animated and existential comedy about the daily rituals that make up the gaps that made up our lives. With a mysterious planet hurtling towards Earth, extinction is imminent for the people of the world. While most feel liberated to pursue their wildest dreams, one quiet and always uncomfortable woman stands alone, lost among the hedonistic masses.
Yeah, partial invest, I guess. They'll promote it from the creators of Rick and Morty, or from one of the creators of Rick and Morty, I guess, comes this new animated series.
He's just a writer.
One of the writers of Rick and Morty comes this new hit series, so I'll partial invest.
Okay. Cheryl Lee Ralph, Timothy V. Murphy, and Bruce Greenwood have boarded The Fabulous Four, a new comedy from Bleecker Street. The actors join an ensemble that also includes Susan Sarandon, Bette Midler, and Megan Mullally, as previously announced. Ralph takes over the role of Sissy Spacek, who was attached as the last four was forced to drop out due to scheduling conflicts. Written and directed by Jocelyn Moorhouse, the Cannes Prize winner best known for her Kate Winslet pick, The Dressmaker. The film follows 3 lifelong friends who travel to Key West, Florida to be bridesmaids in a surprise wedding of their college girlfriend, Marilyn. Once there, sisterhoods are rekindled, the past rises up again in all its glory, and there are enough sparks, drinks, and romance to change all their lives in ways that were never expected.
Nah. I'm out. No invest on that one. What's the no invest option?
Non-invest.
A non-invest in that one. Gotta save some money.
In what's become the first Go picture for the Film Nation entertainment production startup Infrared, the boy star Jack Quaid will star in Novocaine, a Lars Jacobson scripted action thriller that would be directed by Dan Burke and Robert Olson. In Novocaine, he plays Nathan Kane. He was born with a rare disorder, CIPA, cognitive insensitivity to pain, which means he does not feel physical pain. He grew up a sheltered life, learning to blend his food so he would not unwittingly chew off his own tongue, and he learned to wear a timer to remind himself when he needed to go to the bathroom. But when his bank is robbed and his new love taken hostage, his affliction becomes his greatest strength as he sets out to rescue her. The protagonist feels like he's got a bit of Bruce Willis from Unbreakable and a bit of Keanu Reeves from John Wick. The hope is to launch a franchise as Infrared gets off the ground with the Slater Pictures behind this one.
Yeah, why not? Fully invest. That sounds like something that I could make some money
on. Yvette Nicole Brown and Johnny Dumbfounded Park have joined the cast of K-Pops, the film marking the directorial debut of 8-time Grammy winner Anderson .Paak, which we were first to report on. Park joins the cast of the dramatic comedy after developing the project with Paak, who leads the cast alongside his son, Sol Rashid. The film is about a washed-up musician from Los Angeles who attempts to revigorate his career by joining the band for a K-pop competition show in Seoul, and discovers that his long-lost son has a chance to front one of the country's hottest new groups. He jumps at the opportunity to capitalize on his son's stardom for his own renaissance, but learns that fatherhood is much more fulfilling and meaningful.
Nah, no invest. I hate fatherhood.
Hate Asians. Sam Rockwell and Kumail Nanjiani have closed deals to star in A Guy Walks Into a Bar, a dark comedy from director Gary Fledler that has secured interim agreement from SAG-AFTRA. Written by Scott Rosenberg, the film, to be shot in New Jersey, watches as a mild-mannered new father befriends a charismatic but yet mysterious man at a bar and soon suspects him of concealing a troubling secret.
Yeah, full invest. Sounds like a good idea. I like the people involved.
Oscar Isaac, Jason Momoa, and Gerald Butler are set to star in crime thriller In the Hand of Dante, with Oscar nominee Julian Schnabel directing and Martin Scorsese among the executive producers. Based on the novel by Nick Tosches, it follows the story of the original manuscript for the Divine Comedy emerging in the clutches of a black market smuggling ring in the dangerous underbelly of New York City, and weary scholar Nick is called by the mob to authenticate it. Overwhelmed by temptation, Nick defies the mafia and steals the manuscript in a frenzied bid to have it all. He follows a dark and violent path from a metaphorical hell into paradise with his love, Guelita, while a parallel tale unfolds, the odyssey of Dante himself, a man who's trapped in a loveless marriage with Gemma and bolstered only by his mentorship with an austere intellectual. He escapes to Sicily and creates his greatest work, immortalizing his lost love, Beatrice. Nick and Dante's timelines weave separate paths, and yet two men are inextricably linked. Both lose themselves chasing love, beauty, and the very promise of the divine.
Nah.
Right. Porky Pig and Daffy Duck,
of
the most beloved comedic duos in showbiz history, are set to make their return to the big screen in this sci-fi comedy adventure, The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie. GFM Animation will launch worldwide sales on Warner Brothers Animation produced theatrical feature at the American film market and will share first look footage. The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes film, is the first ever fully animated Looney Tunes feature-length movie created for movie theater audiences. Porky Pig and Daffy Duck star as unlikely hero and Earth's only hope when facing the threat of an alien invasion. In this buddy comedy, the heroes race to save the world, delivering all the laugh-out-loud gags and vibrant visuals that made the Looney Tunes so iconic, but on an epic scale not seen in the franchise before.
Yeah, full invest. Double invest.
It's crazy.
Take the rest of my money. And the segment here. I got no money left.
All right. Well, there's a couple more movies. Crazy. This is the first fully animated Looney Tunes film.
I mean,
cinema movie.
You didn't see Space Jam? Or?
No, but that's partially live action,
so
it doesn't count.
Okay.
Following the massive success of Netflix's One Piece, Taz Skylar has found his next big project as he's set to co-star opposite Daisy Ridley in Cleaner. Martin Campbell is directing. The film will shoot at the top of 2024. The timely action thriller set in present-day London will see radical activists take over an energy company's annual gala as the Shard, the tallest skyscraper in Western Europe, seizing 300 hostages in order to expose the corruption of their hosts. Their just cause is hijacked by a zealous extremist within their ranks who is ready to murder everyone in the building to send his message to the world. It falls to an ex-soldier turned window cleaner, Joey Locke, played by Daisy Ridley, suspended 90 stories up on the outside of the building to save those trapped inside and take down the killers, whilst also finding a way to bring the corrupt energy moguls to justice.
I felt it was a very long description for that movie.
It's a window cleaner.
Yeah, I'm fully investing.
All right, last
I
one.
wonder if he'll have 3 swords. Oh no, 3 mops.
We can. Oh no, he's not playing the window cleaner, so I mean, he's probably the villain. You would assume.
Yeah, okay.
Or one of the villains. But maybe Daisy Ridley has multiple
Mops.
squeegees she uses.
Yeah.
All right, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Karen Gillan, and Jacob Tremblay have joined the cast of The Life of Chuck, the latest of many Stephen King adaptations from filmmaker Mike Flanagan, which kicked off production in Alabama under You said you had no money left. Tom Hiddleston and Mark Hamill lead the ensemble of The Pick, written and directed by Flanagan. Based on 3 interconnecting stories from King's 2020 anthology, If It Bleeds, The Life of Chuck examines the existence of his subject, Charles Krantz, in reverse, beginning with his death aged 39 from a brain tumor and ending with his childhood in a house believed to be haunted.
Fuck, I'm so happy. But my favorite news about this, when this popped up the other day, my favorite cast member casting is Mark Hamill. I'm like, has now Mark Hamill joined the Mike Flanagan regulars? I'm fucking all aboard this. This is the best fucking thing ever because he's so good in House of Usher.
How many episodes you watched?
I think I'm 4, but I'm committed to my like as you can tell, like I started watching Happy Valley and like I'm savoring this. Don't take my non-rush as unlike these Gen Zers who want to binge watch everything. I'm enjoying it. Right, good shit.
Sunday night.
They should have released it weekly. Fucking, that's where I need to be. Yeah.
All right, let's move into giving some thumbs to trailers. Of course, you can find all the trailers we're about to talk about in the show notes below. Kicking things off, we've got Leave the World Behind, directed by Sam Esmail, starring Julia Roberts, Mahershala Ali, Ethan Hawke, Myha'la, and Kevin Bacon. A family vacation on Long Island is interrupted by 2 strangers bearing news of a mysterious blackout. As the threat grows more imminent, both families must decide how best to survive the potential crisis, all while grappling with their own place in this collapsing world. Dylan, what do you think of the trailer?
Double thumbs up. I have no fucking clue what's going on, but I can't wait to watch it.
It's 1 up, 1 down from me.
You hate trailers that don't tell you what's happening. It's a recurring theme. If you don't understand what's happening, you're like, no, I don't understand what's happening.
I mean, there's enough mystery and elements in there, but it's just kind of like.
Now here's my question: did you look up this person, because this person did the resort?
Yeah, it's Sam Esmail, the guy behind the Mr. Robot, and
yeah,
a bunch of different weird stuff.
Right?
I did like the resort.
Okay, now you're getting this 1 up, 1 down.
Yeah, I don't think it's a super engaging trailer. It looks like a Knock at the Cabin knockoff.
I think this is one of the best trailers I've watched all year. I think if I was doing top 10 trailers of the year, this would be in it easily.
Holy shit!
Is where I'm at on this. Just that's why I'm fighting you on this one. I feel like this is one of the best trailers I've seen all year.
Okay, if you say so. Yep. So this is releasing on Netflix December 8th, but in some limited theaters. But I didn't see any dates for here in Australia. No. Next trailer is for Wicked Little Letters, directed by Thea Sharrock, starring Olivia Colman, Jessie Buckley, Anjana Vasan, Malachi Kirby, Eileen Atkins, and Timothy Spall. Based on a true scandal that stunned 1920s England, the story centers on neighbours Edith Swan and Rose Gooding in the seaside town of Littlehampton. One day, a series of obscene letters begin to target Edith and others, with suspicion falling upon Rose. As the outrageous letters continue to escalate, Rose risks losing both her freedom and custody of her daughter. Police officer Gladys Moss is determined to find the real culprit, and along with a group of other women, seeks to solve this perplexing mystery. Dylan, what do you think of this film?
Double thumbs up. Jessie Buckley and Olivia Colman swearing at each other. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, there's 2 thumbs up for me as well. Like, it's like, yeah, some of the language and then people having to read it is hilarious. Yeah, it's interesting because it was Jessie Buckley played a younger version of Olivia Colman in The Lost Order, I want to say.
Yeah.
So them interacting with each other in this movie is great. But yeah, just Olivia Colman looks like she's in her element. This kind of genre like fits her. And yeah, it looks like it's going to be a good time. So this one is releasing on the 21st of March, 2024, but it is the closing night film for the British Film Festival, which is about to kick off. So it is playing in most capital cities on the 29th of November. So, look that up if that's something you want to see sooner rather than later. Not in Tasmania, sorry.
Yeah.
Just next trailer, Dashing Through the Snow, directed by Tim Story, starring Ludacris, Tiona Paris, and Lil Ray Howery. A divorced social worker for the Atlanta Police Department despises Christmas due to a painful childhood memory. When sent on a call while spending Christmas Eve with his daughter, he inadvertently evokes the wrath of a local politician, but meets a man who helps him understand the joy and magic of Christmas. So what are your thoughts on Dashing Through the Snow?
I'm going to go one up, one down. I think this looks like the poster and the cast and synopsis and everything would make me go, this is probably going to be terrible, surely. And I watched the trailer, I was like, you know what? Maybe. It's ludicrous.
It is.
That's the best line in the trailer.
Oh, yeah. What a beautiful way to work that in.
Also, hold on, I just remember my favorite thing in the trailer is just Lil Jon in the background. Like, whatever song he's done for this, and just hear background, yeah!
Yeah, this is one up, one down for me as well. I'm the opposite. I don't think it's a fantastic trailer, but I enjoy all the people involved. Like, Tim Story is obviously a solid director. Like, Lil Ray Howard is very funny and stuff. Ludacris, finally
Ludacris
getting
is
a leading role. After being such a successful part of the Fast and Furious franchise, finally gets a leading role. And this is what you expect from a Christmas movie. This level of stuff. So yeah, this is releasing on Disney Plus the 17th of November. We can also announce here, a Very Explosion Network Christmas is coming back. Our Christmas movie podcast will be breaking down the Santa Clauses Season 2, which kicks off next week. Every week, and probably covering a bunch of Christmas movies releasing this Christmas period. So check that out. Subscribe to that podcast feed. Next trailer is for Lisa Frankenstein, directed by Zelda Williams, starring Catherine Newton, Cole Sprouse, Lisa Soberano, Henry Eikenberry, Joe Crest, and Carla Gugino. In 1989, a misunderstood teenage goth girl named Lisa Swallows reanimates a handsome corpse from the Victorian era during a lightning storm and starts to rebuild him into the man of her dreams by using a broken tanning machine in her garage. After going through a playfully horrific transformation, the romantic duo embark on a murderous journey to find true love, happiness, and a few missing body parts along the way. Tom, what do you think of this trailer?
I'm going double thumbs up. This tickles my fancy. Tonally, it just looks weird. Obviously, it's in more of that weird fantasy horror genre that I'm more likely to enjoy, I guess. I really like the cast. Looks like a lot of fun, and Zelda Williams' first feature, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, really cool. So, and then obviously you've got the script from Diablo Cody. So yeah, double thumbs up.
Yeah, this is 2 thumbs up for me as well. I think it looks like a lot of fun. My only issue is maybe he looks a little bit too handsome.
I mean, he's supposed to be handsome, right?
But he's a dead corpse.
Yeah, but a handsome dead corpse,
I guess. But yeah, just the vibes of it, just the obviously her using a tanning bed to bring him back to life is hilarious. Yeah, just so aesthetically it looks really cool, like the gothic vibes, and like even them making a joke. I hope she gets out of this goth phase soon. Yeah, Catherine Newton looks fantastic. Yeah, I'm very excited to check this out. So this is releases in the US on the 9th of February. No current Australian release date. Final film for this week, final trailer for this week, Maestro, directed by Bradley Cooper, starring Bradley Cooper, Carey Mulligan, Matt Bomer, Maya Hawke, and Sarah Silverman. Maestro is a towering and fearless love story chronicling the lifelong relationship between Leonard Bernstein and Felicia Montalegre Cohn Bernstein. A love letter to life and art, Maestro at its core is an emotionally epic portrayal of family and love. Dylan, what did you think of this trailer for Maestro?
Yeah, double thumbs up. I mean, it's a very well put together trailer. Like how it shows all the different time periods and how it seems like every different time period, the sort of the way it's being shot is framed around not only like the black and white, the color, but just the overall the overall way the camera moves and stuff seems to be changing between the generations and stuff. Yeah, it looks really interesting. I don't know, did the nose get toned down? Like, what was the I feel like it wasn't as prominent, or maybe that was, I don't know, one photo. I don't know, but yeah, I'll double thumbs up for the trailer.
All right. Yeah, I'll give it 2 thumbs up as well. Obviously, it looks like it's going to be a really great biopic. Carey Mulligan looks really good. Bradley Cooper does look good. I know. Yeah, again, the nose wasn't that much of an issue. It was like the old man prosthetic that they have at the start of the film. It's like, oh, that doesn't look fantastic. Or I guess maybe it does because he just looks very old and unrealistic. Like, but yeah, looks really good. Obviously, I don't know that much about conducting. Do we need to watch Tar before this to understand conducting as an art form, and why Americans are bad at it? why does it take so long for an American to become a good conductor? Seems like it's pretty simple. Just wave your arms a bunch, right? And then everybody else plays the instruments, and then you get all the credit. Am I wrong?
You've gone too far.
Just bad mouthing conductors everywhere. Maestro releases in theaters on the 7th of December and on Netflix on the 20th of December. Let's move into this week's top 3.
Definitely in the top 3.
And this week, we see the release of Sly, the documentary about Sylvester Stallone. Also this year, we've seen Still, the documentary about Michael J. Fox, and the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary series. So this week's top 3 is top 3 actors they should make a documentary about. Dylan, what's number 3?
Number 3, I went with Michael Keaton. I think that'd be really interesting rise and then like sort of plateau and then coming back up again. Michael Keaton is sort of like I sometimes fall into that thing of like maybe you don't make documentaries around people until they're dead, but then if they're not dead, at least like in like they've had enough length of a career that you could talk about them. And I guess also like as long as there's nothing like super nefarious in their careers that you know that you're not going to be able to at least cover that unless they pass away or something. I know, like, yeah. So I feel like Michael Keaton would be really interesting because he had such a big career with the comedy TV show stuff, and then obviously the Batman casting, and then other stuff, and then sort of plateaus in his career, and now the significant resurgence of him as like a starring man and award winning and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, number 3.
My number 3 is Meryl Streep, like one of the most Oscar-nominated actresses of all time. Lengthy career. I feel like someone could surely find a good story to tell about Meryl Streep. Whether you interview her or it's a bunch of interviews with other people talking about Meryl Streep. I think that'd be a fascinating documentary, just delving into her filmology. Dylan, what's your number 2?
Number 2 is Robert Redford. So I looked it up. There's been a TV movie doco done before, but I'm not counting it. I'm going like I want a full like high caliber Robert Redford documentary that not only chronicles his career but also has a big part about the Sundance and all that sort of stuff, like the later end of his career and like how important like giving the stage to upcoming filmmakers and all that sort of stuff is to him, as well as his early career where he was like such a big Hollywood star and ladies' man and whatever else, stuff like that.
My number 2, kind of in the vein of Sly, Bruce Willis. 80s action star. Obviously started off in like a romantic comedy. Like it definitely was not the peak to be an action star, but then became kind of the everyman action hero, kind of chronicling his career, and obviously then to his later years, where obviously because of his illness, he subjected himself to appearing in a bunch of lesser works that maybe other actors would not necessarily have taken on, a bunch of paycheck jobs, and kind of like delving into that and what those kind of movies entail would be an interesting documentary. So yeah, I think Bruce Willis, while he's still around, would be a good subject. Dylan, what's your number one?
Michael Caine
Oof.
just retired. Perfect time. Catch him while he's still, able, I guess. Do a big old doco. Whole career.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Mine in a similar vein, Clint Eastwood. Very lengthy, extended career, both on screen and behind the camera. I think surprising there hasn't been like an in-depth documentary yet, in my mind, that I know of about Clint Eastwood and his career. So that would be my number one. Dylan, this week, what do you want to watch?
Movie-wise, Naiad comes to Netflix this week, so like to watch that about can't remember the full name, but the Australian swimmer, right?
Diana Naiad. Yeah.
Diana Naiad. There we go. Diana. I was like, I can't remember the name. So that was in cinemas, got a short run, but obviously didn't show anywhere near me. So Netflix this week for that, and TV show would be continuation of Invincible.
For my pick for a film this week is Fingernails, coming to Apple TV Plus, starring Jesse Buckley, Riz Ahmed, and Jeremy Allen White, around a facility that thinks it can figure out if you've met your soulmate through fingernails. I think that we watched the trailer for that. Looked very fascinating. And then on the TV front, I want to check out what was it? Blue-Eyed Samurai, the new animated show coming to Netflix about a samurai. Looks fantastic. Yeah, I'm very excited for that. Let us know what you want to watch this week, or what your top 3 documentary or actors they should make a documentary about by going to explosion.com/Twitter, or jump into our Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at What Do You Want to Watch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Podchaser. Leave us 5 stars, and equally 5 stars, or just tell people about the show. And if you've enjoyed this episode, thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosion.com/supports. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.